What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and I'm going to be doing an Eldlich Lightsworn deck profile. So I'm really excited for you guys because this is actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Gloomba. And this deck is an amazing deck with just how well Eldlich and Lightsworn work together. With all of your Lightsworn monsters milling cards to the graveyard and all of your Eldlich cards having graveyard effects, it makes for a really awesome strategy for an incredible deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron, along with test hands. And definitely give Gloomba some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Eldlich the Golden Gucci Lord. This card is an incredible boss monster for this deck that has the effect that you can send this card and one spell or trap from your hand to the grave, and then target one card on the field and send it to the graveyard. And if this card is in the graveyard, you can send a spell or trap card you control to the grave, add this card back to your hand, and then you can special summon out any zombie monster from your hand. And if you do, until the end of your opponent's turn, it gains 1,000 attack and defense and cannot be destroyed by card effects, which is extremely important for this deck. It also has the ability you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. With this card not being able to be destroyed by card effects when you special summon it out to your side of the field, it can actually live through a Judgment Dragon's effect, which is really amazing for this card, being able to summon out both those incredible boss monsters. Speaking of Judgment Dragon, we're also playing 3 copies of Judgment Dragon. This card is super easy to summon to your field and has the ability it cannot be normal summon or set. It must be special summoned from your hand by having 4 or more Lightsworn monsters with different names in your graveyard. And you can pay 1,000 life points to destroy all cards on the field. And once per turn, during your end phase, send the top 4 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Now notice the only once per turn effect on this card is sending the cards from your deck to the graveyard. So if you have multiple Judgment Dragons, you can special summon out multiple copies of this card, which is really amazing. And you can destroy the field as many times as you can pay 1,000 life points, which is absolutely incredible. But with these 2 boss monsters, it's just really amazing that Golden Gucci Lord can actually live through a Judgment Dragon's effect. We then play 3 copies of Wolf Lightsworn. When this card is milled to the graveyard, you can special summon it to your side of the field, which is a really good effect just to be able to get a 2100 level 4 monster on your field. We then play 3 copies of Raiden, which is a level 4 tuner monster for the deck, and it's just a really good card because it can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard, and then gain 200 attack points if you sent a Lightsworn monster to the graveyard, and then during the end phase, you send an additional 2 cards from your deck to the graveyard, which is a pretty good effect to just be able to mill additional cards off the top. We then play 2 copies of Lumina, which is basically a walking monster reborn for the deck. You discard any card from your hand, target a level 4 Lightsworn monster in the graveyard, and special summon it to your side of the field. And then during the end phase, you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. We then play a single copy of Lila. Lila is a really good one of because she's basically an MST. You switch her to defense position, and then you get to pop a spell or trap on the field, which is a really good effect to be able to just pop cards on the field, but it also has the ability that during the end phase, you send the top 3 cards from your deck to the graveyard. We then play a single copy of Felice, which is pretty much like Wolf, that if it's sent to the graveyard, then you can special summon this card to your side of the field, and you can also tribute this card and then target one monster your opponent controls and destroy that target, and then send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. We then play a single copy of Minerva because it's a great level 3 tuner monster. She also sends an additional card from your deck to the graveyard when she's milled to the graveyard, which is pretty good for this deck to be able to just get an additional card in the grave. And then we play a single copy of Raikou, the Twilight Sworn. This card is a really awesome card for the deck because it has the ability that if this card is normal summon, then you can banish a Lightsworn monster from your hand or grave, and then banish 1 card on the field, and it doesn't target, which is absolutely incredible. It also has the ability that once per turn, if another Lightsworn monster's effect is activated, you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave, which is a really good effect. We then play a single copy of Fairy Tale Snow because it's a really awesome one-of in this deck that has the ability, if it's normal or special summon, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls and change it to face-down defense, being pretty much a normal summonable Book of Moon. And it also has the ability that during either player's turn, if this card is in your graveyard, then you can manage 7 cards from your hand, field, or graveyard to special summon this card back to the field, which is absolutely insane. I'm so glad that they put this card back to 1. We then play a single copy of Plague Spreader Zombie because it's a really good card to mill to the graveyard to help you go in for all sorts of different plays, and helps us go into a really awesome boss monster using this card and our Golden Gucci Lord. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing some really awesome spells for this deck. We're going to be starting out with a single copy of the Elixir Black Awakening. You really only need a single copy of this card, and it has the ability to special summon out a zombie monster from your hand or deck in defense position. But if you control no Eldlich monsters, then you can only special summon Eldlich monsters with this effect. And for the rest of the turn, it locks you into zombie monsters to special summon. It also has the ability you can banish this card from the graveyard to set a golden land spell or trap directly from your deck, and you can only get either or of this effect per turn, which all of your Eldixirs share that ability. The only difference between your Eldlixir cards is that where they special summon the Golden Lord from. We then play a single copy of Eldlixir White Destiny. White Destiny is a kind of a unique card because it has the ability to special summon out a zombie monster from your hand or graveyard with the same exact effect as your Black Awakening, that it locks you into zombie monsters. And if you don't control an Eldlich monster, then you have to special summon an Eldlich monster. But it also says that during the main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard to set a golden land spell or trap directly from your deck, which is a really interesting effect. We then play 3 copies of Cursed Eldland, which is a great searcher for this deck. That the only downside of this card is it has the ability you cannot declare attacks except with zombie monsters while it's on the field, but usually it's not going to stay on the field anyways because you're going to be bringing back your Golden Gucci Lord from the graveyard. It also has the ability that you can pay 800 life points to add an Eldlich monster or a golden land spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and if this card is sent from the spell and trap card zone to the graveyard, then you can send an Eldlich monster or a golden land spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard, which is a really good effect to be able to send any of your Golden Lands monsters or trap monsters to the graveyard so you can get their effects. We then play 3 copies of Solar Recharge, which is just an incredible draw card for this deck. You discard any Lightsworn monster, draw 2, and then mill 2 off the top of the deck, which is a great effect for this deck to be able to just dig into the deck and also send cards to the graveyard. We then play 3 copies of Charge of the Light Brigade to round up the spell. Send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard and search any Lightsworn that you need from the deck. This card is an incredible 3 of, and it's just a really good card. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Eldlixir Scarlet. Eldlixir Scarlet is probably the best of all of the Eldlixirs because it's a trap card that you can activate during your opponent's turn because it has the ability to special summon a zombie monster from your deck or graveyard, and it copies basically the exact same effects as Black Awakening, which is really, really good, that you get to set that golden land card to your side of the field, but you can only get either or effect of this card per turn. We then play a single copy of Guardian of the Golden Land. The reason I play this card is a one-of in this particular deck is because it's a really good card to have as a name, to be able to just use its effect, to be able to banish it from the graveyard to set an Elixir spell or trap from your deck to your side of the field. It also special summons this card as a normal zombie light, level 8, 800 attack, 2500 defense to your side of the field, and when it's summoned to your side of the field, if you control an Eldlich the Golden Lord, you can make the attack of one face-up monster on the field become 0, which actually does come up sometimes when your opponent has a really powerful monster. We then play 3 copies of Conquistador of the Golden Land. This card is absolutely awesome and has the ability that you can special summon this card as a normal zombie monster that is a light level 5 500 attack 1800 defense, and if you control a Golden Lord on your side of the field, then you can target one face-up card on the field and destroy it, which is a really good effect to be able to just pop a card on the field when you activate this card. And then during the end phase, you can banish this card from the graveyard to set an Elixir spell or trap directly from your deck, and you can only use one effect of this card per turn, which all of your Golden Land cards actually share to be able to banish themselves from the graveyard to set an Elixir to your field, which is really, really good. We then play 3 copies of Huakero. Huakero is a good monster for the deck as well because it special summons itself to your side of the field as a zombie light 1800 attack point monster with 1500 defense as a level 5 monster, so you can actually make rank 5 monsters with these 2 cards, which is really good, and it also shares the ability to banish itself from the graveyard to be able to set an Elixir to your side of the field. but you can only get either or of all of your golden lands effects per turn. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of Minerva. Minerva is a good one-of in this particular deck. I really wanted to play 2 copies of her, but I can only find room for 1 copy in the extra deck. She has the ability to detach a material from this card, then send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, and then you get to draw cards equal to the number of Lightsworn sent to the graveyard by this effect. And if this card is destroyed by battle, or if this card in its own control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can send 3 cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard, and then you can destroy cards on the field up to the number of Lightsworn cards sent to the graveyard by this effect, which is a really awesome effect for this card to have. We then play a single copy of Constellar Pleiades because you can use your golden land Huacaro and your Conquistador to be able to overlay to get this card out on your side of the field, and it just bounces a card, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Gustav Max because it can go ahead and do 2,000 burn damage against the opponent to close out a game, which is really nice. And you can also make a copy of Juggernaut Libby on top of it, which is an incredible boss monster to summon to your side of the field as a 4,000 attack monster that can get even bigger and attack multiple times and help you go in for double A Zeus, which you can completely board wipe the field, which is just absolutely incredible. We then play a single copy of Michael the Arc Lightsworn, which is a good monster to use your copy of Lumina and Raiden to go into, and has the ability to pay 1,000 life points, target a card on the field, and banish it, which is really good. And also it's the ability that when this card is destroyed, you can target any number of other Lightsworn monsters in your graveyard and shuffle them into the deck. And if you do, you gain 300 life points for each card returned to the deck. And during the end phase, you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. We play a single copy of Chaos Ruler. Chaos Ruler is a good card to summon in this deck because it has the ability that you can excavate the top 5 cards of your deck and add a light or dark monster among those cards to your hand, but send the rest to the graveyard, which helps you mill cards to the graveyard. This card might as well have been a Lightsworn Synchro monster. We then play a single copy of Geo-Mathmech Final Sigma, which is the secret tech I was talking about earlier that you can use Plague Spreader Zombie plus your Golden Gucci Lord to go into, because Golden Gucci Lord is a level 10 and your copy of Plague Spreader is a level 2, so you can synchro both these monsters together to synchro summon into this card, and it's unaffected by all card effects except Mathmech cards while it's in the extra monster zone, which is really, really good. And it's just an absolutely incredible boss monster to summon to your side of the field with your Judgment Dragon and your copy of your Golden Gucci Lord. We then play a single copy of Access Code Talker, which can be a Boral Sword if you want to. It is an option for you guys if you want to change it out for Boral Sword. We'll play a single copy of Soldier of Chaos. This is a card that I probably would cut if I was going to put another copy of Minerva in for the price of the card, but it's also really good in this deck because it's super easy to summon and it's just a really good boss monster. Because if you put a Golden Gucci Lord into this card or any level 7 or higher monster, it gains the ability, if it's linked summon with level 7 or higher monster as a material, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects, and it can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects either, which is really good. Playing a single copy of Curious because it's a really good link monster for all Lightsworn decks. 1 copy of Unicorn to spin stuff, Phoenix to pop spells and traps, Needle Fiber because it's super good in this deck to be able to summon out Plague Spreader to your side of the field, and finally IP Masquerena to go into your Unicorn during your opponent's turn to spin stuff, which is just a really awesome thing. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's really awesome how well Lightsworn and Eldlich go together. I really wish that I would have played this before because of how well they go together. Like, it's really incredible. And you guys will definitely see in the test hands how well Eldlich and Lightsworn work together. And it's just a really fun deck. And it's really awesome to be able to mix Eldlich with all sorts of different decks and see what works with it. And it worked with a lot of different builds. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.